You initially awaken as a woman named Pompey, who after putting on a rusty helmet named the Psychopomp, has just discovered that there are massive catacombs under different government-owned buildings. And in these catacombs, there are various different creatures, animals, and dead bodies. I will not allow any more secrets to be kept from me. You first arrive in an apartment area standing in water that reaches to your waist. The game itself functions like a mixture of a dungeon crawler and a point-and-click game. Your movement is locked to 4 directions and your vision is locked to the direction you're facing, with the exception of the free look feature. You are able to look, talk, and touch most creatures, and also crush them with a hammer. You walk forward, pick up a key, crush a depressed person with a hammer, and unlock a door leading towards the exit of this area. The exit stands ahead, but next to it is a dog. It's a small white dog. Might be feral, nothing else out of the ordinary. You pet the dog. He wags his tail and licks your fingers. The dog seems to have some kind of injury on its head. The dog has bloomed wonderfully. Don't idle here. You have much to do. Don't worry, for there is a plan to everything. I'm sure you will see in due time, my friend. After that, I suppose you continue. After exiting the level, you're shown the world map where you can choose from different levels. The current 3 available are sewage treatment, the children's hospital, and a public school. In the corners, there are also buttons for home and call, but I'll explain those later. Going in numerical order, you first go to the sewage treatment. You enter the building and walk forward. It's not hard to enter a public building. The buffoon who invented locks and windows has never heard of a hammer. Water treatment. Human waste being processed and cleaned. Made acceptable for consumption again. Chemicals being added to chemicals to remove chemicals. If water treatment is for our safety and concern, why is there an elevator heading straight into the human waste? What could be hidden down there? And if it is such a big secret, why is it so easy to go down there? Sick fucks. You enter the elevator and go uncover the truth. The elevator opens, and in front of you is an interesting sight. There seems to be some kind of underground catacomb or dungeon with a mixture of stone, greenery, and rusty pipes. The pipes look rusty from years of decay. They look like they only have a few days left in them. The rust feels rough, something that you actually kind of like. You think it might be fun if you could just rust away, just like these pipes. You walk forward, moving more inside the dungeon, and come across an open area where in one corner is an interesting looking creature. The double-stalked thing looks at you with all of its eyes. It seems to beckon you. You try to touch the stalked thing, but it grabs your hand. You just barely manage to pull your hand free at the last moment. Oh, hello. My, aren't you a cute one? Say, isn't there nothing better than being tangled up? Would you like to be tangled up? Leaving the flesh creature, you continue going deeper into the dungeon. You kill your first enemy, and afterward, come across a new room. There are two pathways blocked with iron bars. One side has a lever and some kind of paper stuck to a wall. But the other side seems to have a wall that seems suspiciously fleshy. The wall looks a little worse for wear. You wrap your knuckles against the wall. It rings out a bit more hollow than the other walls. You try hitting the wall with a hammer, and the wall screams in agony as if it was alive, and the pathway opens. In front of you is some sort of secret room with a glowing key. You pick it up. Walking back, you pull the lever on the other side, unlocking a path forward. But before continuing, you read the note stuck to the stone wall. April 19th. I feel like I just woke up the other day for the first time. I have memories before Sunday, but they just feel so hazy, so much less vivid. I feel so awake now, so real. I just can't stop smiling. Something good has happened. It's happened. It's unsure what this means right now, but it may come up again later. You continue up the now open hallway and find a small entrance that seems to go deeper into a different part of the dungeon. After quickly taking care of an enemy, you see that you have arrived at some kind of large church. The roof of the area waves as if it was made of water, and in the entrance of the church is a statue of some kind of deity. A humanoid creature with large moth wings. It's a statue meant to be worshipped, though a bit crude, the wings are quite striking. Behind the church is also a different creature. Ah, you startled me. This holy place has been overrun by those sparkle-eyed freaks. I can barely do anything to keep them away. The Thread woman's eyes look angry, but mostly tired. This seems to be the first living creature that isn't hostile. It's unsure why they're specifically here, but it may be good to keep them in mind. You go back through the dungeon to the open room, but before continuing deeper, you go above a slope, and right to the left is another fleshy wall. After walking forward, you discover another creature. Pseudo two-dimensional. You might think that you're in pain, but I've been here a lot longer than you. Eventually, it'll all become quiet, and all return to symbols. Feels like paper and wetness. You kind of like touching the symbolic man. It's unsure what the symbolic man specifically means, but it'll all become quiet and all return to symbols. Almost sounds like a prediction for the future. Going further into the hidden path reveals another note. Doctor, I apologize, but this doesn't make sense. I can't wrap my head around it. All measurements, gravity, trajectory, mass, they're all consistent with a planet, noticeably smaller than Earth. There's no way Earth lost mass, did it? And what of the Earth that now hangs in the sky? It too looks just like our planet, but far smaller, closer in size to a moon. I don't see how you can deny all of this. Your claim that all of this is simply caused by equipment failure or operator error is absurd. I understand the desire to be skeptical, and I respect what you have done for me over the years. But at some point, we need to start looking at what is directly in front of our faces. You are in denial of the situation we have found ourselves in. This note gives some interesting information. Assuming the information is correct, the Earth has split into 2 planets due to some unknown cause. In the beginning area, the sky actually showed a moon that almost looked like a planet, that looked slightly broken. Almost like it wasn't originally supposed to be there. You go out of the secret passage and check the other side of the pathway, which seems to lead to an area with an unending void and a massive pool of water with massive chains coming from above. In front of you are 2 other threads. Watch your step, wayward. The bridge is out. I've been throwing rocks into this chasm for hours, and I haven't heard one hit the bottom. I remember when I was young. We would run around these stone halls. Ah, they were so beautiful. Can you imagine that? It seems so long ago, but I remember the smell of fresh air. It seems that these threads are unable to go to the surface for whatever reason, since the other one mentioned them remembering the smell of fresh air. It seems possible you might see more of them later. You walk back and go deeper into the dungeon. After killing a tongue creature, you see another flesh creature that seems to want to talk to you. The nugget looks at you in a peasantly way. It's simply so fun to live off human waste. We funnel human byproduct into our queen, who in turn replicates the raw materials into flesh and milk for us. Apparently these flesh creatures have some sort of queen somewhere in this dungeon. But anyway, you continue forward. The next room has another small flesh creature dancing in a corner, with a large decorated key sitting on a pedestal. It's moving around in a way that really pisses you off. My key, my special key. My queen gave it to me. My special love gave it to me. If anyone ever took it, I'd explode. I'd be so mad. I suppose you leave the creature be and go pick up the key, but the creature explodes and almost immediately kills you, only leaving you with 1 health. You inject yourself with a few red syringes you find lying around and heal back to full, which afterward you go use the key on a locked door. Inside the room is a massive flesh creature that seems totally immobile due to its mass, with 2 guards next to it. The royal nugget looks at you with an air of pomp and circumstance. She was a good queen. However, like all good queens, she must eventually be recycled. Do us a favor and use those hands of yours to get the job done. The royal nugget looks at you with an air of slimy confidence. Heavy is the crown. The guillotine has been set since before the queen was born, and will be set for many generations of milk babies like her to come. As one of the nuggets from before said, it seems that the sole purpose of their queen is to feed them flesh and milk, and after their lifespan reaches their end, they're decapitated with a guillotine, which you've been asked to find the mechanism to lower it. You pick up a rusty key from in front of the royal nuggets and go unlock another door. After flipping a lever, the bridge is now accessible, so you go there. The bridge was raised, but there's nothing over here. I had hoped there may be food here that I could bring to my village, but I suppose it was just a pipe dream. All that is here is a lousy rusty lever. This gives slightly more knowledge about the Thraits. Given the current information, it's likely they're a mostly peaceful race that has been driven underground from the surface. And because of the vile environments down here, they're struggling to find food to live normally. The lever might be useful to you though, so you go up to it. The chain moves, and a loud scream can be heard. You go back to the throne room. Unsurprisingly, the guillotine has been lowered, and the queen is dead. In the middle is some kind of organism. So that was interesting. It seems that you got what's called an egg of the earth. It's unsure what they're for, but it seems important. After the cutscene, you're transported back to the map, but there is a new area that's appeared. A transient location. You arrive at the starting point. In front of you seems to be some kind of fleshy cocoon from which the creature inside seems to have hatched. You talk to the Thraith woman. When nobody was looking, the Queen's chrysalis hatched. That means that she's out there, who knows where. I can't help but fear. There are vermin dogs who would lead her astray. I must have faith. The Queen will return. This gives some interesting information. There seems to be some kind of queen, who is most likely some kind of powerful being that the Thraits worship, possibly related to the church seen in the level before. This queen's chrysalis has apparently hatched, and she's roaming free somewhere. It's unsure what the motives of this queen are, but the Thraits don't exactly seem to be afraid of her. So-called vermin dogs were also mentioned, but there isn't enough information to conclude anything from that yet. You leave the area. The second area is a children's hospital, so you yet again break into it. Children's hospitals have the same smell to them. It's a clean smell that somehow makes you want to vomit, like a mixture of bleach and Elmer's glue. I love it. Doctors will always smile at you when they say they cannot help you. Give them the copay and die more as they tell you that you aren't full of cancer, aren't full of incurable diseases. Hospitals feel like the safest place to me, even though I know they aren't. They're the least safe place, a place that will swallow you whole and give you disease. A place that will cut you open and make others feel good about it. And through it all, the elevator is there. I can smell it. That smell of rust and petrol breaking through the clean hospital smell. The doors wide open, waiting for me to enter. You enter the elevator. In front of you is a rusty metallic environment. The air feels off and you hear an eerie noise. In a room ahead is some kind of fleshy creature. The nurse looks at you through an eyeless void. You just know she's thinking about meat. Welcome to the lower wing. Here, we help to preserve the most important individuals of humankind, both in honor of their contributions and as a sign for the rest of humanity to follow. As the nurse said, there seems to be 3 rooms with flesh masses inside of them. In the first one is who seems like Play-Doh. In the second one, Cleopatra. And in the third one, Alexander the Great. In the room is also another nurse with a keycard around their neck. As thanks for their contributions to society, our patients are surrounded by their most favorite things in life. They'll never get bored, and they'll never be unhappy. It seems that the things on the monitors near the flesh masses are the things each of the so-called patients enjoy the most. Anyway, you crush the nurse and pick up the keycard. It might be useful later. There were 2 slopes leading down deeper into the lower wing, so you go down the one on the left. Right away, you notice another fleshy wall, and a note stuck to a wall. Recently uncovered texts reference 2 enigmatic figurines, Sevenashvishneri, Queen of Venus, and Krusnur Kolven, King of Mercury. Several ancient textiles depict these beings creating the heavenly bodies and weaving the universe. Their names seemingly refer to 2 fictitious planets, Venus and Mercury respectively, which they held dominion over. It is thought that these figures acted as a subject of worship. However, their descriptions and depictions within the textiles match no known religions or cultures. This note gives more information on different things. Firstly, it's very possible that the queen that was mentioned before is the Sevenash Vishneri that is mentioned in this note. There is also a king mentioned with the name Krusnur Kolven, but there isn't much else information given about that yet. Keeping that in mind, you crush the flesh wall and walk inside. It's a cochlea, an important part of the human ear. I used to be a number cruncher for a big corporation, and it was so boring and awful. A boring businessman. Then I got extensive surgery to be a free-floating cochlea, and I've never been happier. After that, you walk down. You come across an interesting sight. You walk into a room that seems to be almost completely filled with flesh, with a creature almost resembling a tick in the middle. The nurse looks excited. The future is full of opportunities. Study of neoparasitics is very important to us. Parasites are some of the most efficient creatures on the planet. This new parasite was developed from the body of a young teacher in Berlin. We have very high hopes in her. The nurse looks very proud of new discoveries in mental health. It's hard to turn a human into a parasite. Most people would never want to be a parasite. That's why her brain is filled with dopamine 24/7 to keep her chugging, and it works. It seems that the reason for the parasite being here is because the hospital wants to conduct research into the study of so-called neoparasitics, and the tick is constantly fed dopamine to keep it in a perpetual state of being high. Unfortunately, you can't do a mercy killing on the tick since it's too far away from your hammer, so you leave the area. Walking forward in the hallway, you notice a locked door. The keycard from before might work. The door opens, and in front of you seems to be the rest of the flesh mass of one of the preserved creatures. It keeps pulsating in front of you. We've nourished our patients so well. Look at how plump and happy their bodies have become. I'm so proud of them. At the back of the room is a lever, and I think you can guess what it does. A sound of pure agony comes from the flesh creature, and it ceases to live. You continue forward. You kill another nurse with a keycard and find another locked door at the end of this lower area. You must understand. Nutrients and meat are siphoned from hospital patients from around the world to keep our VIP guests alive. It might seem brutal, but I bet you never even noticed it until now. You pull the lever again, killing the second creature. There's still a third creature to destroy, so you go into the other side of the lower area. You kill one of the doctors, and talk to another nurse. Each one of these small rooms houses an important figure. Once the patient has grown enough, they'll be moved to their own main room up above. It seems that this place keeps finding new important figures to preserve their life for eternity. It might be better to end their operation, so you kill the nurse with the last keycard and continue. The end of the hallway leads to some kind of balcony, where you can see the second Earth in the sky, which almost looks like it's looking back at you. The nurse looks off in a daze, thinking of the wonderful heavenly bodies. Beautiful night, isn't it? It makes me feel a lot better to know that when I look at the moon, someone is looking back. Leaving that for now, you enter the room of the last preserved creature and flip the lever. Now all of the preserved creatures are killed, but there was still one key in this area, so you go grab it. This is the second time you've grabbed one of these mysterious keys, but I'll explain what they're for later. You walk back up, and there is another egg of the earth. After you leave the area, there is another transient location. You enter it. You arrive in the village of the previously seen Thraits. The Thraits have set up tents in this seemingly abandoned industrial area. There are also some sort of metallic objects stuck to the tents, but it's unsure what that means right now. The Thrait child is no older than 2 years. Yesterday, I ate a rat. It was really gross. Everyone tells me that we used to eat all sorts of stuff, but now it's just rats and old hamburgers. The Thrait woman looks very hungry, but more than that, she looks worried. Food has been hard to come by. We have to go out searching, and sometimes those who go looking don't come back. It's impossible to raise livestock down here. If you find any food, please bring it here. As one of the Thraits from the water treatment level said before, it seems that the Thraits are struggling to find food in these cursed underground environments. Our village was forced down here after all of the humans appeared on the surface. It's horrible. This is our home. And to call this place, our world, Earth, makes me sick. This is the first time humans have been mentioned in any dialogue so far. It seems that the humans are responsible for forcing the Thraits underground. And because of this, they're also running low on food. There are also 2 other Thraits in the village that mention more things about their living situation and the humans. Up on the surface the other day, I saw a human get hit by a car. Everything inside of them spilled out. Nothing but dust and clay. These concrete walls have gotten smaller. It pains me to see the child trapped this deep, under a sickly blue sky. On the wall, there are 2 drawn figures that seem interesting. It's likely that these 2 are supposed to represent the previously mentioned King of Mercury and Queen of Venus. This also definitely confirms that the Thraits do worship these 2 entities. After checking everything in the village, you leave the area and go to the public school. cold place where they put the loud kids. When you sleep in a school, you learn new things. When I sleep in a school, I taste new things. The elevator is down this way. I can feel it even if I can't see it. It's like a vein that goes down into a heart. You enter the elevator. After exiting the elevator, you are yet again in another rusty metallic area. Welcome to my factory. I trust that you will find your own way around here. On the wall is a note. Open Valley. When the child looks at the sky, they will make believe about stars, planets, and other impossible lights shining above. When the adult looks to the sky, they will see no light, but take comfort in it. There is no danger in nothingness. When the dead looks to the sky, they will smile and close their eyes, seeing that there was light all along. Next to the note are also some kind of flyers with the face of Pompey on them. This is the main factory floor. I know this is a bit much to ask, but there is a machine surrounding my head, one that will smash it into a fine putty. Will you go and turn off the safeguards so that the machine will turn on? The so-called head of the factory seems to have an interesting request, but with nothing better to do, I guess you might go along with it. The head of the factory is up ahead. The fucker keeps begging us to kill him. Doesn't he know how important it is to continue manufacturing? My life has turned into an endless line of misery and illness. I beg of you, if you have any mercy in your soul, please kill me, and make it as painful as possible. The button to crush the head of the factory doesn't seem to work yet, so you check out the other parts of the factory. You first go to the left side and navigate through the crushers. Medallion Man chatters his teeth when the crushers smash into the floor. Oh, you made it through. That's the sign of a good worker. A good worker doesn't follow safety protocols and does not die when doing so. At the end of the path is an interesting sight. There seem to be massive teeth stuck to different parts of some kind of machinery, with a creature moving above. Medallion Man stands in place. It smells like enamel around here. This is where we make plastic enamel. Once mature, the enamel will be applied to the teeth of the children up above, and will learn new things from the words they speak. This information is fed to a generative model, which will then use it to create new lessons for the children. Oh god damn it, is the head of production trying to kill himself again? Let me guess, he sent you here so you can crush his skull. Not gonna happen, dumbass. Get the hell out of here. The hammer says otherwise. You turn off the safeguard for one of the pistons and leave. The right side should have the second safeguard toggle, so you continue forward. The middleman thinks about cool things in the future. This is my favorite building in the factory. When a small child has outlasted their use, we melt them down into slag and turn them into new butter knives and egg slicers. I think that recycling is beautiful, don't you? The next room has the terminal for the safeguard, so you go forward. The metallic man looks at you disdainfully. Huh? Let you buy to shut down the safeguards? So you can crush the head of the factory? You've gotta be stupid if you think I'd do that. You've gotta be a dumbass if you think I'd do that. The hammer greets another person, and you turn off the safeguard. The safeguards are off, but the button still doesn't work. It seems there might still be something else left to do. On the right side, there was a path leading down. There could be something there. Medallion Man is feeling fine. Sometimes I come to these lower catwalks just to feel closer to the void below. The smell is stronger too. After walking for a while and killing 2 enemies, you find an interesting room. This is the station that controls the pressure of the head crusher machine. Feel free to mess around with it. It's not like we're ever gonna use it. Fun fact, it takes a minimum of 500 psi to crush a skull. You increase the psi to the maximum, 999. The machine should work now. But first, there is another flesh wall that leads to a key. So you pick it up and go back to the head of the factory. You press the button, and the head is immediately crushed. Blood flows through almost endlessly, but behind you is another egg of the earth. You collect the egg, and yet again, there is a new transient location. Two orbs float in front of you. You walk forward. Hey, can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Good. I hope you're doing well. It's boring here. I'm dying of boredom. I can't stand the desert, blah. What's the status? The queen? She's awake, but still dormant, trying to hide. Doesn't matter though. Her progress is perfect. What about the other one? The king is fast asleep, like a big, dumb, snoring baby. Good. Do not wake him up until I tell you to. The last thing we need to deal with is both of them at the same time. Not until everything is ready. Nah, do we have to? There's nothing to do around here. Especially these little puppets. They're boring. Not like the real thing. These ones don't squirm right, and they make such a mess when they pop. Have patience. Soon we'll have more fun than ever before. Nah, if you say so, you're the boss. Am I a good boy? The best of boys. The king of all boys. Once we see you again, I'll give you a big nice bone. Sounds lovely. I'll look forward to that. Oh, wait, is this channel secure? Should be. Not like it matters. Nobody listening can do anything. So this definitely gives some interesting information about the world. This seems to be a conversation between 2 characters, most likely from either different planets or different countries. Since the second ball mentioned a desert, the first ball is likely the vermin dog you saw from before, since the second one mentioned giving it a bone. But it's unsure who the second ball is supposed to be. Both of them seem to be aware of the queen being awake, and apparently she's in hiding somewhere, though the reason for that is not confirmed yet. The king was also confirmed to exist, who is currently sleeping. Another suspicious thing that was said was, the last thing we need is to deal with both of them at the same time. Not until everything is ready. But it's unsure what that means right now. You exit the area, and there seems to still be one more transient location in the first layer. You arrive in an interesting area. A TV turns on in front of you.
Repeat. At 3:45 a.m. today, a state of emergency was declared following the appearance of a large unknown insect-like creature in the Melnitz borough of Central City. The creature is unpredictable and is considered to be highly dangerous. This is not a drill. If you are inside, stay inside. If you are outside, find the nearest shelter. If you are thinking, stop thinking. The insect may appear to you as a human. It is not. It is an aberration of your imagination and does not exist. Stay away from the insect, as it is highly dangerous. Do not attempt to communicate with the insect, as it is highly dangerous. The insect is not real. The insect is not real. The insect is not real.
This is an interesting broadcast. It's unsure if this is a flashback from the past or up-to-date information, but some sort of insect-looking creature has apparently appeared on the surface. Assuming that the information is correct, it's possible that the creature is only able to manifest its form through the imaginations of other people, and thus allowing it to enact whatever plans it has for the world and its people. It's also interesting that the creature was specifically one that resembles an insect, since the religious figure from the church from one of the levels had the worshipped deity depicted as some sort of moth-human creature, which could match this description, though it's unsure if they're connected or not. You leave the area and finally descend into the second layer of this cursed world. The background seems to change from an open area with apartments to possibly the spine of some kind of creature. But anyway, you have two new levels to select from: hard structure and instructions. Though first, let's check the new ephemeral location. Human seedbed. Huh. The environment is almost completely quiet, with the only thing you can hear being your own footsteps. You walk forward, and in the distance, see some sort of disgusting creature. The human is just starting to learn word order. It will be a while still before it is sent to the surface. Cold and stiff. Made real, learning real, made real, learning real, made real, learning real, made real. This horrible creature seems to apparently be a human. But if these are humans, then what are you? You walk further in and talk to more of these creatures. The human twitches as it babbles to itself. Day, open, score, total, eat, food, what, open, tell, score, work. Day, 7, 2, over, hill, child, scream, baby, telling, music, culture. The human squeezes and moves like it was just born. Caricature, 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 caricature. The last human is inside some kind of cell. The human is starting to learn proper speech. Once it is finished, its carapace will harden and it will be ready to go. Mom, I'm hurt. Mom, I'm hurt. Help me. I need help me. I need help me. I need... Why would you do that? You're making me mad. You're a good friend. Would you like to eat food? I don't think we want to be in this area anymore. Let's leave. It's... you? What? Perfecting imitation. Fingers looking for hammers. This creature cannot exist. You quickly smash it to dust and leave. You go back to the map and enter the hard structure. Hard structures are all around us. What is a building? What forms the dirt beneath our feet? How does it think? How does it respirate? What does a hard structure eat? Earth is created of buildings that we make. An elevator is like a throat for a hard structure. You enter the elevator. You come across an interesting area. You are in the middle of a massive blood ocean. The moon is in the sky, staring at you, judging your choices. And you're standing in a distorted area with large apartment buildings with large moths on them. You walk forward. A hideous creature is in front. The building bed writhes, trying to ignore the pain it's in. What a shame. Our young buildings are afflicted with a bad case of parasitic silkworms. Even if we kill all of them, it'll take months for the open sores to heal. It seems that the silkworms are absorbing the nutrients of the living buildings around you. Maybe you should help. You first go to the left side of the area. A secret path sits behind some kind of living eggs. You walk through the long path on top of the blood ocean and find sulfur. Maybe it will be useful later. There is nothing else of use towards the left, so you go back. The building bed trickles a bit in a frustrated way. Well, isn't this great? That's the main root sphincter. Isn't it a beaut? Problem is, with all of these moths around, it's closed up tight, so we can't go and check up on the roots of these buildings until they're gone. What a pain. It seems that these building beds can't go down to treat the roots of the buildings because of the parasitic moths. So you continue forward to maybe find a solution. The building bed is particularly frothy today. Sometimes I dream about what it'd be like to be a building. God, wouldn't that be wonderful? To feel all of those people inside me. You destroy another egg in this area and go into an alleyway which gives you DDT. These ingredients might help with killing the moths, so you continue to find more. You walk to the last unexplored side of this area, where you find a building with graffiti saying food on it. Ah, his first graffiti. Graffiti is how buildings speak to us people. Looks like someone's hungry. Inside, the building seems to have some kind of moving fleshy parts that immediately stick to you and try to consume you. But simply running through keeps you safe. You destroy another egg and talk to a building bed. The building bed looks out at the moon fondly and remembers a time when there was no moon in the sky. Of course, we will never live to see our buildings flourish, but we know that. It's a thankless job, but an important one. You reach the top and talk to the building bed, standing next to some kind of machine. If you can get some pesticide together, we'll be able to kill these damn silkworm moths all at once. Bring the ingredients to that machine, okay? The two ingredients, sulfur and DDT, are not enough to kill the moths, so you grab the last ingredient, bromine, from another corner of the area, and finally kill the moths. Nice work. Look at those fuckers drop. I'd say you deserve a reward for your hard work. There's an egg-like thing you might like, down under the buildings. I for one hate eggs. They give me the heebie-jeebies. You pick up the key from this area, and finally head down from the now open sphincter. The roots of the buildings stand in front of you, with a huge pool of blood right under them, almost resembling the inside of a stomach. An especially interesting looking brute is moving in front of you. This is the Great Taproot. All buildings owe to it. Every building you have ever seen is simply a genetic clone of this taproot. Please be careful around it. It is very sensitive. It quivers. This is where all buildings in the world come from. Time to change that. All of the buildings are destroyed, and you get another egg of the earth. You go back to the map, but before going to the next level, you check out another ephemeral location. You arrive in some sort of museum. You walk forward.
The first sentient species on our planet were humans. These hairy bipeds were highly intelligent and are thought to have used tools. They were highly emotive, making them very fun. The last human died in captivity years ago, and none have been seen since. After the humans went extinct, the Thraits evolved. These creatures lived in small societies and did nothing of note. They were strong and stoic, which proved very annoying. The last Thrait died in captivity years ago, and we are better for it. After the Thraits went extinct,
The humans evolved.
This yet again gives more information about the world. First off, the original humans are apparently completely gone and have been for a while. A confusing bit, though, is that the Thraits are thought to be extinct, at least according to this museum, though that could be because the remaining ones are in hiding. It's also unsure what the dominant species was after the original humans went extinct, since they mentioned the Thraits going extinct in captivity, suggesting that some species was keeping them in captivity. And of course, yet again, it's still unsure what species of creature you are supposed to be, since Pompey resembles the original humans. But if they're extinct, then that shouldn't be possible. You leave the area, and another portal to an ephemeral location opens. You arrive in the Hollow Nursery. After walking forward for a bit, you see an interesting area. There seem to be several creatures very closely resembling that of the previously seen head of the factory, possibly being of the same species. But more importantly, at the end of the pathway is a Thrait, standing next to a much more detailed version of the moth entity. It almost looks like one of the original humans, and it seems to be wearing some kind of helmet. My everlasting queen, where have you gone? Even now, the hollow constructs stir from their slumber, ready to act on your will, so I know you must be with us. I am resolute, but how much longer must we wait? It seems that the Thraits expect the queen to have some kind of plan, seemingly one of destruction. You leave the area again, but before going to the instructions level, you go to one more ephemeral location. You arrive in a massively rusty environment, with some sort of melody humming in your ears. At the end of the area are three creatures. The Rust Mother is doing her duties diligently still, whirring and clunking on the inside as she flows a mixture of oxides and carbon through her veins and into the greater world. Ah, hello dear. It's a tough job we've got. Ever seen a rusty shovel? How about a rotten metal boat? That's our duty. We birth the rust that eats away at every bit of metal on the planet. It's an important position. Rust like milk, rust like a lifeblood. Rust is the most you can really make in the world. After a while, even brains become rust, don't you think? Remember, rust is a currency. Having rust in every vein, every duct, let me tell you, it takes some getting used to. But after a while, you wouldn't have it any other way. You leave the rust creatures before you start rusting yourself, and finally enter the final level of the second layer. What kind of place is this? What do these buildings do? Why is this place? Elevator. You enter the elevator. You arrive in the most obscure area yet. Around you is a huge environment, almost resembling some sort of city. In the distance is some sort of creature, so you go talk to it. The allele bounces with important biological information, excited to pass it all on. Here is where we make instructions. Instructions for everything. Everything that has happened to you, everything you have ever done. It was all decided here. Going up the ramp, you see some sort of contraption aimed at a fleshy creature with another allele next to it. The allele feels like it should feel bad, but doesn't. Oh god damn it. These sentient teratomas clog up the pipes every once in a while. It really makes things annoying to get around. Hey, grab that syringe and get a sample of its DNA. Then we might be able to do something about this. The egg of the earth is most likely behind this so-called sentient teratoma, so you do as the allele says. You take the sample from the creature, but the machine seems to have safety locks on it. And on top of that, it's unsure how you're even supposed to operate the machine. Luckily, behind you is a lever that unlocks the paths to the rest of this area. You first check the area on the right side. You kill an enemy creature and talk to a mass of flesh. The old progeny holder swings and dangles preciously. I am the origin who decides how you will suffer. Would you like a blood clot disorder? A brain that doesn't work? It's up to me to decide that, and that's an important job. Thank you very much. If you can think of a better system, I'd like to see you try. Huh. You pick up another key, and then realize that next to the origin point is the computer that turns off the first safeguard. So you use it. After finding the second computer that turns off another safeguard, you go to the left side, since there's nothing else to the right. The allele is actively, hereditarily malicious. DNA is the greatest curse we have ever thought up. You should have seen people before DNA. Let me tell you, we could not let that last. It's unknown if this means that the first race of humans didn't have DNA, or if there was an even earlier race. But it's an interesting statement. You go forward and talk to another origin point. The old progeny pulsates and shivers tenderly. I am the origin who decides how you will decay. I've got a collection of wonderfully flawed chromosomes that I've put together for you. I've put a lot of thought into this. The least you could do is be grateful. You can't blame me. I'm only working with the instructions I received. You walk forward for a while through different environments. Until you end up in the DNA testing area. and you get some kind of sequence of letters, which acts as the code for the DNA of the sentient teratoma. You still don't have the instructions on how to operate the machinery though, so you continue searching. You go up another slope, turn off the final safeguard, and end up in some kind of library with a note in the middle. The note doesn't contain anything of note for the story, but it does show how to operate the machine to destroy the teratoma. You go back and insert the code GTAC and kill the teratoma, finally allowing you to move forward. But something happens. What did you do? You injected something into the primordial information, didn't you? It's all dying. It's all spreading and dying. There's no more DNA. There's no more instructions. Oh God, what do we do? It seems that the injection wasn't localized to just the teratoma, and because of that, all of the DNA in this area is dying. But that isn't your problem anymore, since you pick up the egg of the earth and leave the area. You go back into the map and descend into the third layer. After going down, the only selectable level is symbols. But let's check out the new apparent locations first. You arrive in what's called the Ancient Future Place. The area itself is small, and at the end of it is a black void with a few frogs floating around. But on the one in the front is an interesting illustration. Two people with wings behind their head are drawn on the rock, who are very likely supposed to be the king and the queen. It's unsure what this area is supposed to be, but the king and the queen seem to be much more connected to each other than previously expected. You leave the area and go back to the map, but a portal to another apparent location opens. You go down the spiral and reach the bottom. Hand of a father, hand of a mother, heart of a child, mind of a demon. It's possible that this could be referring to either the king or the queen, since hand of a father and hand of a mother could imply a deity capable of some sort of destruction and creation. If that is true, then the last two ones are definitely interesting. It's unsure what heart of a child could mean, but mind of a demon seems pretty self-explanatory. You leave the area and enter another aberrant location. At the end of the area is a path with massive bird heads twitching and moving erratically. The symbol calls to something inside you that you have felt since before you were even born. You were already touching the symbol. The symbolic man from the first level mentioned something about everything returning to symbols, which could be related to this creature. But it's likely that the symbols level will have more answers. You leave the area and enter the final aberrant location before continuing the symbols level. You're in another worn down, rusty environment. Some kind of creature is sitting in a bathtub. The creature starts to move in a repetitive motion, but more importantly, the appearance of this creature seems interesting. It almost looks like Pompey, but with a crown. It's unsure what this means right now, so you leave the area. Now, with all of the aberrant locations explored, you finally enter the symbols level. You are in some sort of generic office area. The elevator awaits you in the distance, so you enter. Or not. The elevator brakes and reveals a massive area in front. There is a large temple in the middle, with several large buildings around it. In the entrance of the temple is the same kind of symbolic person as from before. The symbol person moves and dances as if they are older than writing. We are not convinced of you. You do not seem to understand anything. These doors will only open for you once you come to understanding with this world and what makes it. It seems that you will not be able to enter the temple without fully understanding this world, so you start searching for answers. You go to the left and find some sort of creature that wants to talk to you. Silla moves and gesticulates. Tutor, tutor, totar. There's a planet within one other place. When realms come together and are forced into a round shape, we enter into a later phase of a world. This sentence is interesting. In a note from before, it was mentioned that the Earth has split into two planets due to some unknown reason, and this creature mentioned a planet within one other place. The later sentence seems similar to what the symbolic person from the first level said, but this time it's slightly more specific. It's possible there is some kind of major world-altering event that's going to happen. You walk up the slope and come across an interesting room. There are paintings on the walls and two creatures and a human body impaled by some kind of large sharp object. Art is beautiful, isn't it? You'll gain an appreciation when you're old enough. We are formed of art. Art is formed of us. Can you even think of anything higher? On the roof of the building is another symbolic person. The symbolic person is judging you silently and out loud. A usurper, here, in the oldest part of the kingdom? Ha, what a joke. You could never weave a story like that. You could never create something like this. A true monarch would never be ugly, like you. This is odd. It seems that the symbolic person is saying that you cannot be the monarch that weaved a story, which could mean the universe and the celestial bodies, which was mentioned in the note from the hospital level. If all of the current information is put together, It seems that Pompey might have more power, possibly hidden, that hasn't been shown yet. The first sentence also calls Pompey a usurper, which could be connected to something later. You crush 2 enemies. Pick up another key. And go to a different area. You walk through, avoiding the electricity traps, and see an interesting creature. In front of you floats a massive fleshy creature with some sort of halos on top of it. The Paragon is younger than the others, but feels far more ancient in its own mind. I am the Paragon of Concepts. Concepts give birth to symbols. Symbols give birth to concepts. Without each other, they are worthless. You are a collection of flesh concepts. You crush the creature with a hammer, and now you understand the concepts. So that was an interesting sequence. It seems that there are some sort of paragons in this area, which you currently don't know of the reason why. But this one was the Paragon of Concepts. You pick up the Paragon key that was left after crushing the existence of the Paragon, and talk to a creature that was outside the enclosure. The Gutmom has an encyclopedic knowledge of the soul DNA of every living being on the planet. There was a time where the Paragons floated gently over the sulfur plains. A time before humans, a time before threats. It seems that it's possible that these Paragons have existed even longer than the original humans and the threats, which could explain the museum location mentioning the threats going extinct in captivity. You go through a teleporter and talk to another symbolic person. We are living symbols. We were born of one of the 4 aspects, the deepest aspect. This makes us the guardians of this world. We will decide what goes through and what comes to pass. It is our right. This explains what the symbolic people are. They are living guardians created by the Paragons, meant to protect what fate happens to the universe. You kill 2 enemies. Go through an area with huge swinging axes. And talk to another Paragon. The Paragon is flashing in a way you cannot see with your eyes. A blink of information in your deep cortical nerve. I am the Paragon of Symbols. I feel the geometry of the world and the mathematical crash that appears behind me. Colors and shapes, lines and curves. The digit meat stuff that makes you up. Read it and weep. Kill me to learn. You crush this Paragon and get the second Paragon key. You go through another teleporter and talk to a symbolic person before finding the third Paragon. The symbol person is full of information. Rather, the symbol person is the information. The matter is created of 4 aspects. 4 aspects made from the original 2 thinkers. With these 4 aspects, they harnessed the raw energy, violence, into the world. According to this, it seems that the Paragons were created by the original two thinkers, most likely the king and the queen. You go through a dark building and talk to the third paragon. The paragon is one of the oldest. It is made up of the younger paragons. The paragon existed before the others, and they are its parents. I am the paragon of people. People are where it all comes together. Every layer builds upon layers and becomes a single person. Those layers can now look back on the former layers and comprehend them. People are the most important aspect. They form the others. You destroy the third paragon and go find the fourth and final paragon. A metallic creature stands in your way, so you defeat it. And go up to the fourth paragon. The paragon is ancient and floats in place sadly. It has seen billions of years worth of death and life. I am the paragon of flesh. I used to fly over the lands, invigorating the muscles and sinew of the world. Do you know the meaning of flesh? The meat is our souls given anchor. You crush the fourth and final paragon and head back to the temple. You unlock the first gate. The second gate. The third gate. And finally, the fourth gate, giving you access to another egg of the earth. You collect the egg, go back to the map, but before continuing the entrance, you go to your house. You have collected several keys throughout the course of this story, and this is finally where they will be of use. Your house and other areas around it have some sort of floating eyes blocking your path that requires you to use a key to open them, so you do. You arrive in an interesting area. A concrete environment is in front of you, with huge gears and some sort of tower in the middle. You talk to a creature to the left. I am so damn tired of this. Look all around you. Look how great all is. Everything has been turned into day soup. It's all your fault. You hate me, don't you? Stop making the world grey. Stop doing this to me. It's unsure who this is, or what they specifically mean, but you continue to another area. You walk through the alleyways and continue even further. An odd creature is in front of you. There's a face inside you that isn't yours. You've gotten twisted up and covered in garbage by that face. I'm suffocating here because of all of this trash. It just keeps piling up. There's a moist towelette that makes you feel clean in the other room. Go clean yourself up. Make yourself pretty. What this creature said could be interpreted in several ways, but it's possible the second phase means the compilation of your current memories and experiences, and that you've yet to be awakened to your true image. The last sentence is also interesting, since one of the symbolic people mentioned you being ugly, and this one mentions to clean yourself up and to make yourself pretty. It's likely that Pompey has something hidden that hasn't been shown yet. You continue down a path and go forward. I looked at the wall today and felt like it was made of dirt. I could trace all of the patterns, which crawled up the side of the drywall. It was only for a split second, but I wish I never saw that. You go through the flesh corridor, and go through another entrance, but you're suddenly transported to a first-person perspective. Around you is a mystical forest with blue mist all around you. You can hear some sort of melody, and in the sky is a red moon. In the distance, you spot two people. This gives an incredible amount of information for the story, but before I explain it, let's go into the final layer of this area. you seem to arrive in a Mariana Trench. You reach some kind of portal. You go through. You seem to be in another temple-like area. In the middle seems to be the old skin of some sort of powerful creature, and next to it is another Threat. The Threat woman looks with reverence at the empty shell. Behold, the throne of the queen, and upon it the sacred thermos which she shed. When entering her great metamorphosis, step lightly, this is a hallowed place. As the Threat said, the queen's skin is in front of you, but the depths of the earth call to you, so you continue. You reach the center of the earth. So if you didn't notice yet, Pompey is the Queen of Venus, one of the two original founders of the universe, and weaver of the celestial bodies. The plan that was mentioned before, of everything returning to symbols, and the world being remade, is now in action, with Venus finally having awakened her powers. The conversation from before, between Venus and Mercury, in the memory also confirms the king's existence, and also that they know each other in some way at least. One of the locations from before, with the conversation between some kind of dog and another person, is also related to this. It's likely that the dog in it is the vermin dog, that has been mentioned many times already. The Thraits mentioned the vermin dogs to be controlling the queen, which seemed to be the case, since the location also said something similar. Because of all of this, it's likely that the vermin dogs are monitoring the queen and the king's activity individually, but currently They're keeping the king asleep since they don't have enough resources to deal with both of them at the same time. That looked like the ending, but it isn't actually over yet. Going back in, there's a new location titled Forbidden Location, so you enter it. You arrive in a library. You walk to the end and see a note. Keltman 4, the brilliant interstellar phenomenon lighting up our skies. I don't feel that I need to introduce you to the Keltman 4, the interstellar phenomenon that has been making headlines for the last month. One only has to look to the skies to see the bizarre sight. 4 brilliant lights leading what looks like a trail of absolute darkness across the night sky. The phenomenon has elicited all sorts of reactions, from wonder to outright panic. Many religious leaders have pointed to the Keltman 4 as a sign for jubilation or of end times to come. But what are they, really? The answer is, we don't really know. The Keltman 4 were first discovered on January 16th, 2021, by Harris Keltman, a worker at the Green Bank Observatory in Green Bank, West Virginia. At the time, they were characterized as a set of several superheated interstellar objects moving through space at speeds previously unheard of. What of the dark space behind them? Though it might look as if the stars have simply disappeared, leading scientists to assume that the stars are all most likely still there, but that their light has been absorbed and hidden from us by way of a phenomenon known as Heath-Nightdale absorption. Light is absorbed into the trail of the Keltman 4 and expelled out at the sides, known as the photon age. It's possible that this might be related to the king and the queen in some way, possibly due to one of them traveling in space, changing the universe as they move. Though that is not certain. After reading that, you go back. But the sky changes, and 4 large eyes start staring at you, almost like they know what you are. You leave the area, but instead of an entrance, there is now an exit. Venus escaped the control and surveillance of the vermin dogs, and is now on her way of enacting the plan. You awaken as another person with a Psychopomp helmet, who is very obviously supposed to be the King of Mercury. You walk out of your motel room, go down the stairs, and talk to the vermin dog. It seems that the vermin dog is talking about Venus having finally awakened and starting her plan to rearrange the universe. Mercury seems to be the only person right now that has equal power to the second creator of the universe, Venus. You are transported back to the map, and obviously, it's a bit different from before. The environment looks a lot more normal, you could say, and the only level you can go to right now is the meeting place. You arrive in another desert-like environment. In front of you is some sort of large building, with the vermin dog sitting near the entrance. The king of all dogs has a smarmy air of confidence, a real boardroom kind of canine, useful skills for getting forward in life. I apologize for this arbitrary holdup. I spoke to my compatriots earlier and told them all that we would be meeting at this exact time, but they aren't here. Would you go looking for them? Once you find them all, we can continue to our place of meeting. It seems that the previously mentioned associates aren't at the meeting place yet, due to probably some kind of communication error, so you go find them. You first go to the right side. Under a small roof are two interesting looking creatures. The Everin Scout rests. There's no time for rest in a place like this. Perhaps this hunter is a fool, in spite of his appearance. Ah, I know you. You're that human we saw at the hotel. What are you doing all the way over here? This place isn't safe for someone like you. The Everin Scout stands tall. He is imposing and strong, though he doesn't exude a threatening aura. Be careful, a storm is brewing. I can feel it in my carapace. There's a great evil hanging over the land. The Haleva. May the king watch over you. These two creatures also seem to be aware of the danger of the situation you're going to be in the near future. You walk forward, looking for the first associate, and on the way, kill a flesh creature with your nail before talking to the first compatriot. The man stands taller than you. He has a smug look on his face that makes your skin crawl. The flower is a very special thing. Its beauty is captivating, and yet it brings a stench of death, a deadly poison. What kind of flower can I give to you, sir? Ah, the dog wants me? I'll be there. Now with the first associate on their way to the meeting place, you go to the second place on the right side. And the second person looks to be a child? The child smiles at you. There are more folds under their eyes than there should be. Everyone loves puppets, especially puppets themselves. Oh, good, it's you. I was getting so bored here. I'll meet you there. By the way, what do you think about puppets? After that interesting exchange, you go back to the starting area, turn to the left, go up a staircase, and find the last associate. A person in a full body robe. The woman wears a flowing cloak. Under the fabric, you can hear the sound of taut, slick, leathery skin surfaces running against each other. Oh, hello. I've been expecting you. Tell me, do you prefer pythons or constrictors? There are so many kinds of snakes, each more wonderful than the last. I might need it. I will head there now. You go back and finally go to the meeting place. This story will continue in the future. If you made it this far, maybe consider subscribing, or don't. I'm not powerful enough to force you. Anyway, thanks for watching.